So today I'm going to be doing some silhouettes using this, it's called a Virginia creeper, but it's a type of ivy, and various different colours. One of the things I really like to do, as well as creating ghost prints, is to create layers of silhouettes with different colours and to experiment and find out what colours work best in layers. So that's what I'm going to do today. If that interests you, then please watch along. So today I'm going to use this 6 by 6 inch gel plate, or 15 by 15 centimetre gel plate. This gel plate has actually been quite well used. This is the first gel plate I ever had 5 years ago. So it's a little bit green, but it works just the same. So you can use them over and over. So to begin with, I'm going to use this dark green colour. I'm just going to spread it onto my plate with the roller. You don't, obviously the more you roll onto it, the more you kind of start to wipe the paint off again, so don't over roll it. But then I've used the paper to the side just to roll off my roller and clean it off a little bit. So it's always good to have a bit of paper on the side. So these are my Virginia creeper, or my it's kind of ivy. So I'm just going to position them on my plate at different angles and try and use as much of the space up as I can. And then I'm going to get a piece of white paper just to put over the top. Now this is just copier paper that I'm using. You can use something a bit more expensive if you want, but I find that copier paper works just fine. So I'm just going to smooth it down. I always use my hands just to go in between all the bits of the leaves and just make sure that I've got the most defined image that I possibly can. And when I'm happy that I've done this, then I will pull up the corner and just see how well it seems to be have transferred the paint onto the paper. If I'm happy with it, then I'll keep going. If not, then I'll just smooth it down a little bit further and just try and get as well defined an image as I possibly can. So this is my first layer, my first part of the silhouette with the darker green. I'm just going to pull all the pieces of leaves off my gel plate now. And this video isn't really about ghost prints, but I'm just going to take a quick ghost print just to clean my plate. So you just place another piece of copier paper just down on your plate, smooth it down, and you just want it to kind of almost stick to your plate so it pulls everything off your plate. I just smooth it down with my hands. I always find it's easy to smooth with my hands, but some people use a roller. It's really up to you. So just pull that back. Now you will notice there is still a little bit on my plate, but I don't tend to clean my plate that much between each layer. So I kind of like the bits that get left behind on the plate just to see what will happen with them on the next print. So now I'm going to use a lighter colour of green. This is like a light olive. And smooth that onto the plate. I'm actually using a different roller here. So I'm using one roller for my dark colours and one roller for my light colours. So you just smooth this out across your plate. And when you're happy that you've done that, you can clean off the roller on the roll-off paper and then position your leaves. Now this time I want to make sure that I position the leaves at different angles to my first print, so that when I do another print, you'll see in a minute that it will be the leaves will be positioned on the paper in different places than the first print that I did. And then I'm just going to take my same piece of paper that I printed my initial green print onto, try and, as best I can, line it up with the plate and print on top of that with the second colour of green, so the lighter colour of green on top of the darker colour. And just see how that impacts the original image. Again, just smooth it down, go in between all the little bits of the plants with your hands, and just try and get as well defined an image as you can. So you'll see here that because I've done it at different angles, that different parts of the image are showing through. Again, there's a nice ghost print left on that, so I'm just gonna print that straight over the top of the first ghost print that I did, just to see what happens. And you just almost want your paper to stick to the plate so that it pulls everything up when you pull up the paper. I find that the more you rub your hand over the plate, where your palm's quite warm, it will warm your plate and kind of make it dry out. So you can see that I've just done a ghost print over the top of the original ghost print. So this time I'm going to use a different green because I wasn't that happy with the emerald type green I used. So this is more of a dark olive green. And I'm going to try that on my layers this time. So just spread it out across your plate, the paint, just like you did last time. And this is what I mean about playing with different colours and combinations. So the more you play about, the more you'll learn how your paints react with each other when you layer them together. So just keep going and seeing what combinations work best for you. So again, you want to lay down the ivy onto the plate at different angles. See what you're happy with and what works. I try to fill as much of the plate as I can with different shapes, just because it leaves more interesting patterns. So again, more copier paper, just place that down onto your plate and smooth it down to get the best defined image that you can. When you're happy that it's smoothed down as much as you need to, then you can check the corner and see how it's working. You can see there that there's a little bit more that I want to smooth down. There's maybe too much green left on the gel plate. So that's why I smoothed it down a little bit further. So you see that's how the darker olive green works on the plate. So I'm going to pull my ivy off and just take a quick ghost print just to clean my plate off, really, more than anything. Just pull it back and you'll see it's clear, it's cleaned off the plate really nicely. This time I'm going to use the same colour as I used for my second colour on the last print. So it's this light olive green. And then I'm going to use my lighter colour roller to roll that out across the plate. I used quite a thin layer here, but it just shows you really don't need that much paint on the plate to make it work. So clean your roller off on your roll-off sheet and then position your leaves. And remember to position them at different angles than what you did on your first print. You can cross the branches over if you want to, or you can put them at different angles from one another. It's really up to you. There we go. And now I'm going to take the same sheet of paper I used before with my dark olive green and place that over the plate to do the lighter colour on top to see what's going to happen and how the two colours will react with one another. Just smoothing it down and getting in between all the little bits of foliage on there. I was actually much happier with this colour combination than I was with the initial one. And yeah, quite liked, I actually preferred it to the original one, but maybe you prefer the original one. And then again, just to clean my plate, I'm just going to take all the leaves off. And I think because this one's a bit more dry, I'm going to dry it off properly with my my heat gun. And yes, you can use a heat gun on a gel plate as long as you leave it in one spot for too long, you don't put it on too hot a setting, it should be fine. And I'm just going to use a darker colour here to try and pick up the image and see what happens. Again, a bit of experimenting, we'll see what happens. So the darker green. Sometimes I find that if you layer a darker colour onto a ghost print, the contrast doesn't work as well as it does if you do the lighter colour on top of a darker ghost print. But it's always worth experimenting because different colours work differently with one another. So just spread out your roller across the plate and with your paint, and then you want a fresh sheet of paper to pull your print. And again, because it's a ghost print, you just want to make the paper almost stick to the plate. Just smooth it out. The more you put the warm palm of your hand down on the plate, it should just dry the paint out. Because it's acrylic paint, it does tend to dry fairly quickly, so especially when you've put a thin layer down. Now this one worked in some places better than it did in other places, but it's always worth a try. So I'm just going to have a go at some other colour combinations here in just the same way as I did the first prints. In these videos I'm using some metallic paint combined with some more opaque paint. Hopefully it gives you some inspiration, some ideas to try of your own. So today I've managed to produce 3 silhouette layered gel prints that I'm happy with. Hopefully today you'll see that actually creating silhouettes with leaves is just as interesting as creating the ghost prints, and hopefully it will really inspire you to go away and layer some different colors and play about with the different opacity of the different paints on your plate, and try and layer them and see what effects you get. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please like, please subscribe, and please comment. I'd love to hear if you've had a go at it and how you got on. Thank you.